Today's guest has the distinction of being the only participant in the Chicago Bears' 2 championships of the modern era. As a ferocious tight end in 1963 and as the powerful coach of perhaps the most dominant Super Bowl team ever in 1985. Also, he's the only person to have won the Super Bowl as a player, assistant coach, and a head coach. I welcome a man who's the only person to do a lot of things, the one and only Mike Ditka. The first time on the show. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Tim. A lot of things I probably did I regret doing, too. So, but
well, you've done a lot more that you don't regret than you do regret. I mean, you've had such an impact on 2 major cities, on Pittsburgh, growing up in Aliquippa, about 30 miles outside the city or so?
Yeah, about 25 miles out of the city. Steel mill town when I grew up. Great town in the 40s and 50s and 60s, but it's basically not very much there anymore.
Mm-hmm. And Chicago, I mean, you can't go anywhere in that city, even to the point, and we may be jumping ahead of ourselves now, but you were thinking about running for the Senate, right, last year?
Well, let's put it this way. It was a proposal that was made to me, and then when I came to my senses, I understood how stupid that proposal was and how stupid I would have been for running. Yeah. But no, it was flattering to a degree. I mean, anybody says, well, you could run for public office and maybe make a difference. Tim, I'm just not sure how many people can make a difference anymore, that's all.
Really? Was that the major
That's
reason
the major
you didn't
thing
run?
Yeah. Actually, that I had a lot of commitments, but those are commitments. You can always change those. But politics to me has become too bipartisan. I don't really like it.
Let's talk a little bit, if you would, about growing up. You loved baseball, right? Well, that was really your first sport.
I was a better baseball player as a child than I was, or a youngster, than I was a football. No question about it. I played baseball every day. We loved it. You know, we had guys. We hung out in the neighborhood, put our own games together. We had little fields, so it was nice.
And Stan Musial from Ditka, Pennsylvania, you still contend was the best baseball player that you've ever seen?
Well, now I've watched him, a lot of them. To me, was because he was a Pollock from Pennsylvania. It was simple. My logic was based on that. When I was a kid, somebody called me a Pollock, which, you know, I probably have a little Polish in me, but
you're Ukrainian, though,
Ukrainian, basically, yeah. But nobody got offended by that in those days. And you know, I found out he was Polish, Ditka, PA boy. That was it.
Actually, Ditka has been changed, right?
The real name is D-Y-Z-C-K-O, Dishko. Yes, which is pretty Russian.
And didn't 2 of your brothers change the name to Disco, or?
My dad had Ditka. His brothers had D-I-S-C-O.
Oh, I see.
Disco.
So
we're kind of a dysfunctional family.
Well, aren't most families dysfunctional in this country?
That's true.
And growing up in Aliquippa and playing all 3 sports, you also played basketball. And when you went to pitch, you played basketball, baseball, and football, right? 3 sports.
Well, I played
them.
Yeah, I played them. I have a great story. I did cover Jerry West when I played basketball in college. Ask Jerry about it someday. I almost killed him. But I didn't cover him, but I almost killed him.
3 fouls in 51 seconds.
About that.
He said you scared the living day. I've read that quote. He said you scared the living daylights.
What was I going to do? Cover him? Come on! He's one of the greatest basketball players ever played. I mean, I was just having fun out there, and it was kind of interesting.
Your type of fun that particular night was not the type of fun Jerry was used to.
No,
right?
he wasn't. He wasn't in the mood for that.
One of the truly great basketball players ever, and
great
you
guy too.
Yeah, and you as a football player. We'll be back to talk more with Iron Mike Ditka right after this. Mike Ditka wrote in his autobiography, "My whole life was based on beating the other guy, being better, being equal to, showing that I could be as good as anybody else. That's the way I grew up. I don't know if that's good or bad." Have you thought about that?
Yeah, you know, we wrote another book on the '85 Bears. We just wrote it, be out in a month or so. And the title, and it wasn't my idea, the title is in life first you got to kick ass. That's the title. And you know, and I started thinking about it. You know, if you're not willing to compete in life, you're not going to go anywhere. And I look at competition is not to prove that you're better, but just the competition part of it. People ask me about sports. I watch every sport there is, Tim, because people are competing. I love to see people compete because there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser in most cases. Necessarily, it doesn't mean that the loser didn't compete as hard. It just meant there was something missing in it. So I like people that fight to the end, and that's what I've always tried to do.
And another one of your sayings was attack always.
Well, you know, the worst thing I learned about in pro football about the prevent defense, it prevents you from winning. So I don't like it. You know, I've seen too many bad things. If you're playing good and you're aggressive and you're attacking the other team, keep doing it. But I know as soon as I say that, coaches everyone say, well, you can't do that because what if? Well, what if you sit back and you let them go right down the field? Come on.
In doing baseball games, in the late innings of a tie game, particularly a home team, will play their outfield back to prevent doubles. And I have said that it's baseball's version of a prevent defense.
Yeah.
And I've seen as many games lost trying to prevent that. And as you said,
right?
It prevents you from winning.
Absolutely. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Yeah. What other adages did you learn from Tom Landry? I know you were
Tom Landry
really
was
an admirer of his.
Yeah, he was the greatest man I've ever met in the sense that I came into the league. George Hallis, was founder of the National Football League. I played against Coach Lombardi's team. I had great, profound respect for the Packers and for Coach Lombardi because, to me, I thought they were the best organization I've ever seen in pro football. And then I got to go to Dallas when my career was really on the brink of being finished. And I got resurrected because of Coach Landry, who made me understand my part in this whole big puzzle was to be a team player. And I played with a bunch of great guys in Dallas, and we had a lot of fun. And we won, we won Super Bowl and played in a couple other ones. And but his influence on me, Dan Reeves, guys like us, well, is immeasurable because he was a difference in me being sitting with you today, Tim, than not. That's what I mean. And more so than anybody.
In what way?
Well, I think in life you hit the crossroads. You can go either way, right, wrong, left, up, down. He made me go the right way. He influenced me, and he showed me that there was a path to doing things right, doing the right way, and being part of a team instead of worrying about being an individual.
That was after you probably spent the worst 2 years of your life in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they weren't bad. I mean, the bad
not
thing
because
about
of the city or the team,
we
but
lost
because
a lot
of
games.
Your personal.
And I played bad,
life.
and we lost a lot of games. I was injured most of the time. The owner lost the team. The coach lost the job. I mean, I got, the best news I ever heard was after a couple days after Christmas in '68, I guess was my last year there, I got a phone call, and it was Tom Landry. He said, I just traded for you. And he said, but I don't know if you can play anymore or not. But he said, I'm willing to take a chance on you if you want to take a chance on yourself. I went down there and got in the best shape of I really did get in the best shape of my life, and I played as hard as I could play. Not that it was the best football, but I played hard.
That comment right there, I mean, tells you what kind of, Landry was so honest with you, saying that he didn't know whether you were going to play.
You got no curveballs. They were all high hardwoods. And if you couldn't handle it, get out of the batter's box because that's where, and that's what, he was direct. People had a misconception about the man on the sideline. He was cold and uncaring. He was the most caring, thoughtful man I've ever been around. And emotion, yeah, he had emotion, but he didn't show it in public. But I've seen him show it in private, when he had to cut players and things like that. It hurt.
Recently, I had Tony Dorsett on, and after doing research with you, I told Tony that you said that Tom Landry was even funny. And Tony said, I've never heard him tell a joke. It was hilarious. I mean,
there's a lot of ways to be funny and humorous in life, and it wasn't about joke telling, but he had a great sense of humor. Great sense of humor.
See, that's something I would never have known about.
Tom Landry. Thing about people don't know, Coach Landry flew, I think, 41 missions over Europe as bomber pilot in World War II. He was captain in the Air Force. He was shot down. He's an American hero. If he would have never coached a football game, he was an American hero, the way I look at it. So, pretty special guy.
Mike Ditka's my guest. I'll be back with more from Mike right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That must have been excruciatingly difficult.
Well, I think, Tim, I said earlier, I don't think anybody ever starts out to go to the Hall of Fame. You start out because you love the game, you play it, you have fun at it, and what a great reward at the end of your career to be said that you're capable of having played the game in the same talent as these people, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I see a lot of the old timers, the Hall of Famers in football. God, I mean, it's amazing. People don't realize how good these guys were. I mean, and you know, this was way back when, but they are the forerunners to what we see today. And unfortunately, a lot of the young guys don't really appreciate them for the way they played the game and what they've meant to the game.
They don't appreciate the history.
No.
That comes
don't
from.
respect the history of the game. I guess
No.
Word, yeah.
Well, you were the first tight end to ever be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Why was that?
Well, I don't think the tight end position was kind of, you know, when I became a tight end, let me tell you the truth. I could have been drafted by Washington, San Francisco, or Pittsburgh. And the Bears drafted me. The other three teams, I would have been a linebacker.
Really?
I mean, absolutely. Been a linebacker because I played defense and offense in college. Most of what my recognition came on defense. So I would have been I knew what I would have been. They told me. I went there and he said, "You're going to be a tight end." Tight end. Well, I wasn't sure what it was because I played tight end and wide receiver at Pitt. But anyways, Coach Hallis revolutionized the position, him and Luke Johnsos. And I was the first guy to ever split out to get off the line of scrimmage. A lot of things that they did that really made it pretty interesting. So, I mean, I don't know. Coach Hallis was the reason for all that, Tim, not me. I mean, he's the one that
Told you in 1982, paid you the then exorbitant salary of, what, $100,000?
Yeah.
You were the lowest paid coach in the league, right?
So what?
In 82? Yeah.
But I got to tell you my bargaining ploy. I'll tell you how smart I was. He says, "I'm going to give you $100,000 a year for 3 years." I said, "Coach, I can't do that. I got to have a 15% raise every year." So it goes 100, 115, 130. So I got him. I showed him.
You also said in your autobiography that there were 50 or 60 guys that owed money to George Hallis in the early days, and you were one of them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he put Danny Fortman through dental school, medical school. I mean, he did a lot of things for a lot of people. I mean, he wasn't, you know, outwardly, he believed that a dollar was a dollar. You had to earn it. But if somebody needed help, he was the first guy there to give them help. And, you know, that's something that people never knew about Coach. And I know myself that when the first thing he told me, you're going to save your money and you're going to buy a house. You're going to save your money. I'm serious now. And he took me to his bank. He said, they're going to lend you the money for the house at the interest I pay. Tim, this is in 1962.
Right.
Pretty good deal.
That's a heck
Pretty
of a
good deal. And you know what? I probably would have never bought a house if it would have been for him.
Speaking of dentistry and dental school, you went to Pittsburgh because you wanted to be a dentist.
Well, I had a great high school coach, Carl Ashman, and he said, "Mike, a good idea would be go to Pitt, be a dentist, come back to Aliquippa, and practice." Well, there'd be nobody here to practice on in Aliquippa right now, but, you know. But anyway, I thought that was the biggest deal. When I went to school to be a dentist, and then I got into those physics classes and some of those chemistry classes, I went, I better be back into history where I know something about it. But it was really a great experience. Pitt has a magnificent dental and medical school.
Pitt, a terrific school, and so is Penn State.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that Joe Paterno didn't push you as far as a recruit is concerned.
He did.
Why didn't you go to Penn State?
I was ready to go to Penn State, and for some reason we had a thing where I went to Pittsburgh for a weekend, and next thing I knew I had a job working there, and he and a guy named Jim Cunningham and myself ended up going to Pitt. Joe Paterno was, to me, is the salt of the earth. He's one of the greatest coaches that's ever coached, but he's one of the greatest people I've ever met. He recruited me. He was a backfield coach, a quarterback coach for Rip Engel at that time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I really wanted to go to Pitt. The only reason I went, the main thing is that if you went to Pitt undergraduate, you had a better chance of getting into Pitt Medical School. That was my thinking.
I got you. Back with Mike Ditka right after this. Mike Ditka has said, "I have Super Bowl rings," and this is a quote, "I have Super Bowl rings and league championship rings from playing and being an assistant coach in Dallas, and I have Hall of Fame rings. But the Super Bowl ring means something special to me because I had a vision and watched it come true."
Yeah, I really did. I knew my destiny was to coach the Bears. You know,
How'd you know that? I mean, you're spending 13 years in Dallas. Yeah. How'd you know you were going back to
in 1978, I wrote Coach Hallis a letter. And I said that I'm not ready now, but someday I will be ready. I'd like an opportunity to come back to rectify the past and have a chance to coach the Chicago Bears, and I'll coach them the way you want them coached. I'll bring the Bears back to being tough and whatever. So, you know, I didn't think anything of it. 1982, of course, he remembered the letter, and because Sid Luckman told me this, and he said, one day I was coaching with the Cowboys, and he said, that's going to be my next head coach. And he said, who? He said, that guy on the sideline there, Mike Ditka. So anyway, Sid told me that years ago. But anyway, so
you obviously had no idea.
None. But I really believed in my heart that that was my destiny to go back there and coach. So it worked. You know, I had a great general manager with me, Jerry Vanisi. We had the greatest group of players. I mean, we played hard, but we had fun.
You also had a great defensive coach. Your
Buddy Ryan was the best.
And y'all you clashed a bit.
We clashed, sure, we clashed. But, you know, if everybody agreed on everything, Tim, there would be no reason for the other person. I mean, you know, let's face it, you're going to disagree on things, but you know what? His style was different than mine, but it was effective. So what's the difference? Did we get along? Did we go out to dinner? Yeah, we went out to dinner on occasion, but I wouldn't say that we were, you know, I'm not getting Christmas cards from him. He's not getting any from me. That's the only thing I can say. So, I mean, but if you're talking about respect, you know, and I think the key word in life is respect. I respect him tremendously because he was the best at what he did, because he made those guys believe and understand that they were going to do things a certain way, they were going to get great results, and he turned them loose. I mean, they were like a bunch of wild dogs out there.
There are a lot of people a lot of writers who see a confrontation between baseball players and they say, oh my God, you know, this politically correct society is going to say, oh, they're violent, they're fighting. This happens all the time.
Well, we are.
Yeah, we are. That's right. We're part of it.
The violent world.
Yeah.
You know, actually probably blown out of proportion. Even in the, like I said, we wrote a book on it, and I tried to explain, you know, my side of it. You know, you have to understand that when you're the head coach, it's not about the defense. It's not about the offense. It's not about the running back, quarterback, or special teams, or the kicker. It's about everybody. So you got to find a way to get everybody on the same page. And if you want to look at a great example of that, look at the team up in New England playing right now, because that is the definition of a team. No guys calling attention to themselves individually. They play the game because that's the way the coach wants them to play the game. That's the way the organization does, and they play for each other. Tim, and you know, you don't see that a lot anymore.
It's sports has become such an individual thing.
Look what I did.
Yeah, look what I did. I want to quote Mike Ditka one more time. Mike said, if you're not in the parade, you watch the parade.
It's basically true.
That's life.
Yeah.
And that is life.
Yeah, you either be part of the parade or you're just watching it. That's all.
What a parade this must have been.
Well, this was a great time because this was a combination of a lot of ambitions and dreams, and you know, and being with these guys. I can't tell you how great they were. I mean, you talk about guys playing hard, you know. There's a lot of great teams, and we were a good team. There's no question about it. But they shut out the first two opponents in the playoffs, and then gave New England 10 points. And basically, on paper, New England and us were pretty much evenly matched. But our defense went crazy that day.
You have said, and a lot of people have said, that that's the greatest sports event in Chicago history. It's pretty clear, right?
Well, I don't know. The Bulls winning a lot of championships.
Well, but I mean, but the Bears.
No, that was special. It was a long time coming. You know, they had not done anything since '63, and
you were a player on that team.
Yeah, but there was no parade like that.
Quickly, we've got about a minute and a half left. But Mike, you had the privilege of seeing so many great running backs, huh? And Gale Sayers, from a fan standpoint, Gale Sayers was the most dynamic.
Would have set every record there was if he wouldn't have had a short career. I never seen anybody run like him. Jimmy Brown was unbelievable. I mean, people forget about who was good. I mean, I go back to guys, Joe Perry, and guys, there's a lot of great runners over time. You know, McElhenney was a great broken field runner. But, you know, Dorsett, acceleration.
You were there
Walter
in Dallas
Payton
when Dorsett was drafted, right?
Yeah, and so I saw that in the beginning. And then I seen all these things on Walter Payton. And then when I got there, and I got to the Bears to coach him, and I said, he was the most complete package. I mean, this guy did everything. Tim, he would block as good as any fullback in football. I mean, he didn't care. I mean, whatever you said, Walter, you do this, he did it. But he could throw, he could run, he could block, catch. He thought he could kick, but I never let him kick.
Well, Sweetness was an appropriate nickname for him because nobody played the game any sweeter than Peyton. Huh?
But also, that's the way he was off the field. I never seen him say no to an autograph. I never seen him turn a kid down. There's a lot of reasons why he was sweet. You know, he appreciated life, and unfortunately, you know, he didn't get enough of life.
Well, you've certainly gotten a lot of life, haven't you? Huh?
I'll tell you what, if I knew it was going to be this good, I'd take better care of myself.
That's an old Mickey Mantle line.
That's right.
One last thing. This show took about as long to tape as it would take you to play 18 holes of golf. I've heard you are the quickest golfer. You get through. You don't think. You think long. You think wrong, right?
Well, the object of the game, and when I found out you hit the ball, find it, hit it again. Now, all that stuff in between, I'm not good at.
No politics on the golf course.
No.
I cannot thank you enough. I've loved this.
Tim, I'm a big fan of yours. As you know, I was a big Cardinal fan for years, and I've followed you through your whole career, so thank you for having me.
I've loved our time together. I've been with Mike Ditka. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.